Hello everyone, welcome to my very small YouTube channel about knitting, mostly knitting. My name is Isabelle, I am in France, I have 3 sons and I have 3 cats. Some have said it's related. And I'm filming these videos in English because I miss my English so very much. I used to live in the United States, but that was over 32 years ago. So I don't have many opportunities to be practicing my talking in English. So today it's going to be a video about my regular knitting adventures, what I finished, what is on my needles, a book I just received, and if you've been following the other videos, you know what I'm talking about. And maybe a little bit of life updates if I feel like it, and if the video is not too long. Towards the end of the video, I don't want you to be bothered with all my life updates if you are not interested into that. So if my accent, my hesitations, my mistakes, and if this schedule sounds good to you, please stay tuned. Okay, first, what am I wearing? My yellow, this is the second Laurenson sweater by Lily Kate France. The second sweater I knit. The first one was with Cocoon Aran yarn. This one is with a finer mohair from the Pyrenees. If you've been following me, you know where the farm is and all the purchases I've made in the past over there. And it's a finer gauge. It's a bit see-through. I'm not sure I'm very comfortable with that. And the other thing is I'm not very comfortable with short sleeves. So I wanted to stay faithful to the pattern. And every time I wear this yellow sweater that I do not think match my skin tone and my hair and everything, but I do love it because it's a bright and bolder color for me. Every time I wear it, I think I should knit wrist warmers to go with the sweater whenever the temperature is not that warm. And but I've never gotten to do that yet. So I think next accessory I'm gonna be making, it should be a very quick knit. I'm gonna make those wrist warmers so that if I feel like it, I can have long sleeves on the sweater, and if I do not, I will have the short sleeves. I also want to knit a hood with the remaining of the mohair I have. I still haven't gotten around to knitting that. So that's in my future projects. Maybe one day I'll cast that on. Okay, so first, what finished object do I have? You've seen me wear it last week in my last video. It's a bit warmer today, and I was afraid I was going to be extremely warm if I was to wear it for this video. So you may see me wear it once again at some point if the weather gets colder. It's my Cozy X by Intermstein that I knit with this beautiful mohair from the Pyrenees, the same form. So it's a bigger mohair. This one is finer, and this one is the bigger weight for the mohair. As you can see, I have a little knot here to tell me it's the back. So I was totally off gauge when I knit the sweater. So I think I need maybe two sizes down from what I should have been knitting. Two things. First, that I saw when I was editing the video last week. I do not see it in person, and if I look at the my computer here, the footage on my computer, I can see it too. There must be most probably one skein with a very lighter tone. You see it when I show it that way. This part, the top one, is a bit darker. There is one stripe when I was still knitting in the round with a lighter green, and then it goes dark down again. I don't see it in person, so I'm just gonna be leaving it as is and hope for the best, hope for the best. Second thing, as I was completely off gauge, I made my calculations. I know how to do that. I like to do that. So all the top, the raglan, everything is just right to be fitting me. One thing I forgot. When I cast on the stitches for knitting the body in the round after separating for the sleeves, and you can see no holes, everything was fine. I totally forgot I was off gauge. I totally forgot I had made some adjustments in the stitch counts, and I casted on the number of stitches that were recommended. The result of that is that the body is a bit big for me. So it's not gonna be a fitted and more formal sweater. You see, it's a bit big. It's gonna be a really boxy sweater. So that's not what I had intended for. That was not my intention, and that was not my desire. So I'm a bit so about that. So will I rip out and start over again? I do not think so, because I made the Cozy X. The name for the Cozy X is that there is a little motif at the sides, under the arms. So you barely can see it with the mohair. That's not a problem. It gives structure to the sweater, and I like that. The raglan is fine. The sleeves are fine. There should be a motif also below the inside of the sleeves. I did not bother doing it because it's gonna be totally lost in the mohair. So I did, of course, the X motif on the other side that you can see about, here, fine. And the bottom, I did as the pattern recommended, but I was careful with my stitch counts. I do not know why I did not recall to cast a smaller number of stitches under my arm. Anyway, with a little, okay, I get carried away. I've seen that when my screen goes down, the recording goes off. I'm not sure why. So I need to remember to move my my trackpad so that the screen stays up, but I get carried away and I do not record. So what I was saying is that I made the back a bit longer than the front, even though there are short rows at the top of the back. And there is a little notch here on each side where there is the separation for the front and the back. And I think it is really nice. So as this is going to be a boxier, a more relaxed type of wear of sweater, I think I will knit again. I have some stormy blue mohair, the same size, the same gauge, and I think I may knit the Cozy X again at even a very smaller size, because as the top is fine, but I need to be slimmer on the body so that it's more fitted. And I think I will knit the same pattern again with my blue mohair. Do I recommend the pattern? Absolutely. Intermstein has a very beautifully written pattern. Everything is there. The only adjustments I made, and the mistakes I made are mine. And I absolutely do recommend you have a look at that pattern and you see for yourself if you like it. And yeah, easy pattern to follow. The X on the side, the raglan. I'm sorry, there is some mohair in my eye and I can't find it. The X on the side, the raglan, everything is just very well written, very easy to follow, and the little details, the fact that the ribs are not one by one rib, and really a really nice piece. I do encourage to add to your own wardrobe. Okay, next, my work in progress. What do I have on my needles? I have three. One I'm not going to be talking about because I haven't been working on is the double layered cowl with yarn that my son Paulin and his girlfriend gave me for my birthday. It's still on hold. I'm going to be knitting it. I'm going to be going back to it at some point, but for the moment I have two other things and my mind is busy, and this pattern requires a lot of attention. So for the moment it's on hold. So my second work in progress is the Rainforest Canopy Shawl by Helen Stewart. My dear Rosemary gifted me both the yarn and many other skeins and the pattern. And I've passed the 40% mark. I'm in between 40 and 45%. I'm not sure I like so what I like a lot is every row of the pattern has the explanations. You have a chart and every row is described, even though some rows are repeat from others. Every row has a line, has an entry, and every row has a stitch count. So that helps a lot to spot mistakes, even though last time, if you watch my last video, my last knitting adventures video, you know I made a mistake. I did not rip back. I knit the garter stitch in between the two laces, patterns, and here I am on the fifth lace motif. I'm cruising along. It's a pattern that requires that my mind is focusing on what I'm knitting. It's not a difficult lace pattern. It's not at all the pattern. It's just me. My mind is a bit about all over the place. It's coming along. The color is perfect. The yarn, that is Rui and Lola yarn, both the pattern or the designer and the yarn are from Australia. So Rosemary allowed me to try some of these beautiful yarns, and it's coming along. I kind of now, as I'm a product knitter. At some point I did enjoy the process of knitting for some pieces, and I enjoyed the process of knitting on that one. But as I see the shawl coming along, I am really waiting for the object, the finished object. So I'm mostly a product knitter. And when I see I have all that now, I'm really impatient to finish the shawl and wear it. So this is where I find some of my motivation, even if during the night it's a bit dark and I'm prone to making mistakes if I don't see very well, even though I have those lights you wear around your neck. These are LED lights, and I have to concentrate and be careful, but so far no further mistakes, and I'm really enjoying the yarn and the pattern, and I'm really looking forward to wearing the shawl. Okay, next is a work in progress that I just casted on a few days ago. I haven't worked much on it. It's the Highland Thistle Sweater by Caroline Holbrook. I finally got to knit that pattern that Amy Palco gave me last year. I entered, I think it was on Instagram, an Instagram contest, and I won both the pattern and a little pouch from the Cocoon Tree, who is someone from her family, and a very, 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 very cute and nice small bag, a knitting bag. The Highland Thistle sweater, the day I bought this big cone of yarn last summer from Lenal West in l'Essai in Cotentin in Normandy. I went there and I bought 2 cones. This one, which is so these yarn, the 2 cones I have are natural color, no dye, the yarn has not been dyed. This one is a mix of white and black sheep fleeces. The black sheep fleece in French is called burrel, so it's between black and very dark brown. The final color is a color that is in between gray and brown, with the white showing up. A very, very beautiful color I like a lot, and when I bought the yarn, it clicked in my head, it's going to be the Highland Thistle sweater pattern. This is off gauge. I think the pattern calls for fingering weight. Let me just make sure this is what I need to open the pattern page. Yeah, so it's calling for fingering weight, and my own yarn is sports weight. So once again, I made calculations and I swatched. I swatched with 2 needle sizes. I'm knitting the color with, God, I'm not gonna be, maybe 3mm needles, and I will knit the body and all the stitch pattern and stitch motif in 3.5mm needles. So I'm off gauge. I think I'm gonna be, which size did I choose? I wrote it down. I should be knitting a size 2 because I have 19 and 35 stitch per 10 each, and the pattern calls for, let me see, 18 in my own memory. The pattern calls for 22. So I'm completely off gauge once again. So I made the calculations. I decided I was going to knit a size much smaller than what I should be knitting for myself. I will have to see. So I've just made the collar ribs, and I need to change needles and do the increases. I will have to carefully monitor my first few rounds to decide whether I need size 1 or size 2. But anyway, the beginning of the pattern calls for the same number of stitches, and Onyx is here, so I'm going to open to him because it's going to be raining soon. Okay, he's inside. I gave him a little snack. You may hear him eating in the background. Okay, so I'm completely off gauge. This is what I was saying, and I need to be moving towards a bigger needle size to make some increases for the beginning of the yoke. And I will decide after the few first rounds and my measurements and some kind of extrapolations on few rounds and few stitches. We'll see. I usually works for me if I don't forget not to cast on too many stitches under my arm, but anyway, I will have to see which size I end up knitting. I forgot to say my little stitch marker on my rainforest canopy shawl was also the gift from by Rosemary, and this one, if you don't see it on the right, this one once again is the little stitch marker set that my son Theo bought me 2 years ago for Christmas from Knit It, which is a yarn website that talks about a yarn festival in Lyon, and they do sell a few things, patterns and accessories, and stitch markers and things like that. Anyway, so I did swatch with several needle sizes because I do not know this yarn. The other thing is, you may have heard me say that I do not swatch very often. That's correct. Because I usually knit many different projects in many different colors, but with the same yarns, because when I like something, I want to be knitting all the colors that are available with the different projects. So once I've knit a project, I more or less know my gauge and what I need to be doing. This yarn was the first time I was knitting with it, so I decided to swatch several needle sizes and several patterns and everything. So I settled on a needle size that I was going to be using. Of course, it's not me being cheap. I don't keep my swatches. I unravel and I'm still knitting from the yarn I use from the swatch. What do I have to say about this yarn? I hope that blocking it, or I may not be blocking it, but soaking it in water once the project is finished will make it soft. That's what I've read from people who've used it. That's what I've discussed with the lady in the shop where I bought the yarn last summer. And it's a very rough yarn. This yarn is made from sheep from Cotentin, which is in Normandy. It's in the western part of Normandy, from a breed that was almost extinct. And they revive, mixing the breed, the Cotentin breed, with a sheep breed that was southern from Cotentin, but that was not extinct because it was a breed that was mostly used for its meat and for eating. And the sheep's pastures and fields are the ones that get soaked with the tide. And so the grass they eat is salty, and their meat is salty, naturally salty. This is what they are known for. And so this breed is quite famous. So it was used to retrieve some of the characteristics of the northern Cotentin sheep. So that southern breed was, so we're talking about 200 kilometers, no more than that. So once again, I got carried away and my screen turned off. So between the two breeds location, I think it cut off when I was saying that, it's no more than 200 kilometers. Anyway, what I was saying is that the breed that used to revive, the northern breed that had a soft, very water-resistant fleece. The outside of the fleece, the sheep live outside, so most of the time, and the winters are not very cold here in Normandy most of the time. So they live outside. So the outside of the fleece is very water-resistant. The inside is very soft. And when they mixed the yarn is usually quite soft. The southern sheep, which was a breed for eating for its meat, the fleece is much rougher. The result is a very dry and very rough knit, wool and knit. So I hope it will soften. It will get softer. It will soften. It will get softer once I soak it in the water. I'm not very sensitive to scratchy wool. I am a little bit. It's not that it hurts me. No, it doesn't hurt, it doesn't bother me, but at some point my skin gets to be a bit too red. So you see the mohair, it's a bit see-through, so I just have a tank top underneath. It doesn't bother me at all. Of course, mohair is much softer than this one, but I've rubbed this one on myself and I think it's going to be okay. So yes, this is where I'm at. I haven't knit much on it because I want to knit on the shawl, because if I get carried away into that one, which is a bit dark, lighter, I will knit every night on it, and the shawl won't get finished soon. So yes, that's a cast on. You will see it later on in my channel. Once again, I thank Amy very much for gifting me with that pattern, which is a beautiful, beautiful pattern, and having the opportunity to knit with that very rustic yarn that I think fits the pattern very, very well. Okay, next, that's all for my my knitting. Next I received the book I pre-ordered in January, whenever the pre-order was available. The first day it was available. It's Neons and Neutrals by La Bien-Aimée Gilles by La Bien-Aimée, from La Bien-Aimée. It's a Land Publishing collaboration. And what is different, I forgot to take it with me, but I have the first worsted yellow book that was dedicated to her worsted line of wool. What is different here is that the samples are knit and the patterns are from different yarn types and collaborations with other yarn producers or dyers and everything. So another thing I like a lot, and she did with her previous yellow book, is that she highlights both the designers and the person who knit the samples. And I do hope she will have some knit nights to be talking about each of the patterns in the book, the way she had with her yellow book, and that she will continue to highlight the sample knitters, because I think it's something quite original that not many people do, not many designers do, and I think when you have a nice collaboration between your designers, your sample knitters, the result is absolutely beautiful. So you see, I've already selected a few patterns. Which ones? It's quite just, you've seen that book all over the place, so I'm not showing anything new to you. Darta. What do I like about Darta is this association between the ruffles in another color and the sweater. So I think I have yarn in my stash where I can knit that pattern, of course, for the sweater, and some mohair for the ruffles. So Darta, let me see, because I don't want to forget is by Ines Sang. The next pattern I want to knit is what's Vervel by Make van Gain. I'm sure I'm butchering the name. And why do I like that pattern very much? It's because when you must remember, when I knit the Agnes jumper, I had said that I wanted to knit with mohair from my stash, of course, but my original idea, which was totally not appropriate for the yarn I was using, was to knit some bohus type of color work. Well, that sweater, Vervel, is inspired by bohus type of color work, and this is what I really liked about it. Maybe there is, yeah, there is another picture. And the Bohus color work is of much interest to me. And yeah, I think, I'm not sure I have yarn in my stash right now for this sweater, but it's going to be staying high on my list. The next one is Confluence by Caitlin Turowski. A very soft and a bit cropped, a bit boxy sweater that still is very elegant. And so in some soft neons and neutral association, I like this one. And there is a gray and pink one. Let me see if there is a picture in the book. No, that I can show without giving away anything. There is a shawl that is called Reflected by Cecilia Campochiard. Once again, a very simple shawl that can be extremely stunning, and I do think I have yarn in my stash for that one. So that may be a shawl that I will consider casting on, but I do want to cast on from some of the shawls I already have in lined up, and the other one is Klenge by Lotta Lotgren. It's also another shawl. Once again, do I have a picture where I'm not going to be giving away anything? Maybe here. An original stitch pattern, an association between two colors and two yarn textures, two yarn weights. That's the theme of the book, so you already know that. Harmony. So my screen, I need to fix that. I'm not sure how to do that. To prevent from the screensaver to turn off the screen, there are central setups in Mac. I know where it is. I know how to change it. I change it and it's not doing anything. I thought it was going to be okay today, and when I get carried away, I forgot to move the mouse on the trackpad. So well, okay. So I was talking about the Brandy Cheyenne Harper Harmony. It's sort of it's a cardigan, but that looks like a cropped vest. And with also two different yarn, and on the shoulder, a pattern on the shoulder with a different yarn weight. So you see I've got quite a few. Strides by Marie Renier, yes. So maybe if I do that, maybe you won't see, there is nothing about here. So that's an interesting hat pattern. My second son, Theo, has asked for hats, so I may look into that one. And Brienne by Brienne Moody. So you've seen that cardigan also all over the internet. A very interesting also color combination, yarn combination, and yarn association. And yes, I think it's another very, very interesting book. You know that I like books, even though I don't need from them most of the time. Lots of inspiration. And this particular one fits a spot that may have existed elsewhere, but that I had not much heard of. Knitting with different yarn weights, different yarn color ranges, even though they do match together. So yes, I am extremely happy I received the book. I've been browsing through it a lot, and I will continue to browse through it for pleasure and inspiration. Okay, so this is all I wanted to talk about today before I move towards more life updates. So if you are not at all interested into my ramblings about what's going on into my life, and I know I haven't been giving much details, but some things are not so happy. So yeah, if you're not interested into that, I thank you a lot for having being with me up to now. And I do hope you spend a very nice week, and I do hope we get to see each other next week. Okay, life updates. I am sure that life is tough for you too. Life is a bit tough for me. We went to see the judge to have my mother assets being taken care of by someone that is not my sister or I. This is what I wanted. This is not what, anyway, my sister wanted, I think. And so it was a bit rough, rocky, and unpleasant. I'm not sure my mother realized at all what was happening, and what the judge said, she placed her in the highest level of help. I'm not sure how to translate that in English. Higher level of help. The lowest one, the next one is the last one, where she has no more rights. So she's at that point of needing help. So I'm, at the same time, I am very relieved that, oh, okay, my lady cat is here and it's raining, so I'm gonna be interrupting to open the door to her. Okay, she's inside. The three of them are inside. So what I was saying is that the judge decided to place her in the level of assistance that next level is the last one, and she has no more rights, no rights at all. And someone is taking over all of her rights. So she's at the level below, so there will be some professional taking care of all of her assets, all of her administrative and financial situation, all of her medical and personal situation too. And the decision will be published officially at the end of this month. We are at the beginning of or middle of March 2023, and the person, she knows already who's going to be appointed, is a professional. The judge has been working with her for a long time, and she has many of her persons that are requiring the same kind of help. She has about 40 of them with the judge, and she will be responsible for everything from that point on for my mother. What I do hope, this is what I thought was the best, because I'm far away. What I do hope is that I can talk and have a good relationship with that person. The judge said that there is no obligation, that that we do talk and share decisions. I would like, because that person will be the only one now on responsible in front of the law for what happens to my mother. I don't want to be running away from my own responsibilities. So I hope I will be able to have a nice, normal relationship with that person, and we can share the information and share the decisions for the best for my mother. And that was part of the frictions we had anyway. So part of me is relieved about the decision. Part of me is going round and round and round in circles and fantasizing about what going to be happening next. I know I should not, but I can't help myself. So that's one thing. The other thing, as you may have heard in the news, we are in the middle of big protests in France there is a law that will modify the retirement setup, which in France there is a huge part of the retirement that is a public government ruled. When I went to the United States over 30 years ago, I discovered that people in the States, their retirement was the one that they would be making or saving on their own. I was very surprised because in France and in other countries in Europe, retirement has at least a big component that is a public one. Everyone gives money from their salary. It's an obligation. You can't choose not to do it, to the whole big common pot. And you have every month when you're retired, a calculation that has been made, that will be made according to the numbers of years you have, the number of years you have worked, how much you have given to the system, and there is a calculation that is made so that you know what you will get once you retire. Of course, you have now in France also some ways to save money for your retirement and build up and add to that shared retirement process. And this is what the government right now wants to change. The government wants to increase the number of years you have to work before you can retire. So it got, the law was, this part of these articles of the law was approved yesterday or this morning. So last week and this week, the protests were huge. My university is shut down because some people and students are blocking access to the buildings. So I'm teaching online. I do support the protests because some of the changes are going to be extremely difficult for women. Women have lower salaries on average than men. That's a public fact. And so women who will have had a non-continuous life working, so they stopped for kids or other things, because people taking care of the elderly in the family mostly are women too, so they can't work. So these women will have, at the age of their retirement, not the number of years that they will have had to work, will be extremely impacted by the current law. I will be, but my life is a bit more comfortable than other women who've had no formal education and have had always lower type of employment. These women will suffer a lot in the future if this law goes to its end. It's looking like it's going to be going to its end, and the protests are huge now, so that the government changes its position. I'm not sure where we are going to be going. There is a lot of problems in the transports right now. The stocks of gas and petrol and oil and are blocked, so that the distribution of gas in the gas station is stopped. Anyway, roads have been blocked, huge protests. So I'm not sure where we are going to be going. And this also raises my stress. And even though on a normal situation for me, I would be stressed, but that I would not lose my sleep over that. With what has been going on with my mother and what is going on right now around myself, at some point I went to my university to teach, and I spent over an hour and a half. I could not get out of my village, but I was in a huge traffic jam, and being able to go back home took me a very long time. And so I could barely manage to make it to my first class. But yes, it's been a very complicated for the students because we can't go work and they can go to the university, we can go teach. And so I do agree that with all the protest and that the law is not good for the majority of people, but I do not agree with blocking universities. There is no real point. I'm not sure that the government is sensitive to that. Who is that impacting other than students and teachers? So, and even for the symbol of it, it's not, it is not giving any impact. So I do agree that the law doesn't have to go through. I do agree that we have to protest in the streets. I do not agree with the fact that universities are blocked and maybe other side of the economy, but I do not know much everything about that, so I don't want to be talking about that. I don't think blocking the universities has any impact on what the government thinks. So yeah, a bit of a difficult time right now for me. And I am trying to do what I do recommend at the end of every video. I am trying to enjoy every stitch that I need and every project and focus on my project so that I can find some joy and happiness at least once in my day. And I do hope you manage to also find some joy and happiness in your day with your knitting, and that you can hang on to that, these little sparks of light when everything around us is dark and depressing. And yes, I do hope you manage to do that and that your knitting is bringing you the relief that you need and the joy that you need. And I thank you very much for being with me up to now, and I do hope to see you next time.